Good morning, everyone. My name is Assistant Professor Vaishali Sonone. Presently, I am working in MVP's SVKT College, Devlali Camp in the Department of Microbiology. Today, I am going to deliver a lecture on Salmonella typhi, and this lecture is meant for TYBSc students. So let's start with lecture. Before starting with lecture, we'll have a brief recap of what we have learned in our last lecture. So in our last lecture, we have started with Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So under that, we have discussed the morphological characteristics of Pseudomonas. We have gone through cultural and biochemical characteristics of Pseudomonas. Then we have also seen the infections which are associated with Pseudomonas. In that we have discussed about the concept of blue pus. Then we have also discussed diagnosis and control measures which can be used to treat the infections caused by Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Now today's session agenda. In today's lecture we are going to study the morphological characteristics of Salmonella. Along with that we are going to see the cultural and biochemical characteristics of Salmonella, followed up by the various antigens that are present on Salmonella typhi, and along with that we are also going to see, or we are going to discuss, antigenic variations that are associated with Salmonella. So today's learning objective is that we are going to study all these concepts of Salmonella, starting from morphology, cultural characteristics, biochemical characteristics, antigenic variations, pathogenesis, disease symptoms. All these we are going to study in today's lecture. So when we talk about Salmonella, the genus Salmonella, it generally includes the bacilli, and these are the bacilli which generally parasitize the intestinal tract of human being, or generally vertebrates. And when we talk about Salmonella, it is basically associated with the infection that is known as enteric fever, more commonly called as typhoid in human beings. Apart from that, it is also associated with septicemia along with gastroenteritis. So Salmonella is associated not only with typhoid, but it is also associated with food poisoning infections. Moving on to the classification of Salmonella. Salmonella belong to a domain of bacteria. It belongs to phylum Proteobacteria, class Gamma Proteobacteria. It belongs to order Enterobacteriales, family Enterobacteriaceae, genus Salmonella, and species Typhi. So this is the classification of Salmonella. Moving on to the morphology of Salmonella. Morphologically, the organism is gram-negative rod. So when we are going to perform gram staining, in that gram staining, you will observe a pink color rod. So it is gram-negative bacilli. It measures 1 to 3 and 0.5 micrometer in size. Another important character of morphological character of Salmonella is that it is motile in nature, and that too there is a presence of peritracheous flagella. So what is peritracheous flagella? Peritracheous flagella is the flagella which is present all over the surface of the cell. Along with that, the organism is non-capsulated, non-sporulating, so the organism doesn't produce a spore, or it doesn't has a capsule, but it may possess a fimbriae. So if the organism have, or if it harbors a fimbriae, in that case it enhances the virulence of that particular organism. Moving on to the next, these are the images of gram staining. So after performing gram staining, you will be able to see such type of rod, gram negative rod. So you can see the pink color rod which is there in the given image. Along with that, the second image shows you the peritracheous flagella that is present in case of Salmonella. Moving on to cultural characteristics, the organism is aerobic and facultative anaerobic. So the organism is able to grow in presence as well as in absence of oxygen. So it is not an obligate, but it is facultative in nature. You can cultivate this organism on a simple media. The temperature range which is required for this particular organism is a 6 to 8 range, 6 to 8 pH. And when we talk about temperature, so optimum temperature is 37 degrees centigrade, but this organism can tolerate a temperature in between 15 to 41 degrees centigrade, but 37 degrees centigrade is an optimum temperature which is required for this organism. On a growth media, you can see a more translucent colony that are formed on normal media as compared to that of your other entry group of organism, like for example your E. coli. Now when we talk about another cultural character of Salmonella is the McConkey's agar. Now, on McConkey's agar and DCA agar, the organism shows a colorless colony. Another selective media which is used for Salmonella is Wilson and Blair's media. On Wilson and Blair's media, a black color with metallic sheen colonies are formed. The black color is formed because of formation of hydrogen sulfide by this particular organism, and this particular character is an important character for identification of Salmonella. Enrichment media which is used for Salmonella is selenite F broth or tetrathionate broth. Selenite F broth and tetrathionate broth is used to enrich the culture. Like suppose if a stool sample is taken for identification of bacteria, so that stool sample is not only going to contain the pathogenic organism, that is Salmonella, but apart from that it will also contain other group of entry group of bacteria, like suppose E. coli and other organism. So that organism can overgrow the Salmonella, and to overrule this particular thing we require an enrichment media where you can inoculate the culture, where you can inoculate the sample, and your desired organism will grow. So selenite F broth and tetrathionate broth is a enrichment media which is commonly used for Salmonella. So this is an image which is showing how the colonies are formed on SS agar. SS agar is Salmonella shigella agar. SS agar is the agar which is used to differentiate between Salmonella and Shigella. On SS agar, Salmonella form a black color colony, whereas your Shigella forms a colorless colony. This is an image showing growth of Salmonella on McConkey's agar. So the organism is lactose negative. So on McConkey's agar, the colonies which are formed by Salmonella, it is colorless in nature. So these are non-lac fermenter. Opposite to that, you can see the pink color colonies, pink color growth. That pink color is the colony type of growth or type of colony which is shown by lactose positive. But when we talk about Salmonella, it is lactose negative. So on if you see the colony, so pale color colony is of Salmonella, whereas pink color colony is the colonies that are formed by lactose positive organism. Moving on to biochemical characteristics. So the organism is able to ferment the sugars, common sugars like glucose, mannitol, maltose with production of acid and gas. So the organism is able to produce acid along with production of gas. Another important thing is that it is not able to ferment the lactose sugar, sucrose sugar. Generally disaccharides are not fermented by your Salmonella. Another important character is the IMVIC test. Generally, IMVIC test is used to differentiate different organisms, genus, species of your entry group of bacteria, right? So under that, your Salmonella, it shows plus, minus, plus, minus, plus. That is, it is indole negative, MR positive, VP negative, and citrate positive. So it shows MR test and citrate test positive, whereas indole and VP test is negative. Again, the organism is urease negative, so it is not able to degrade urea. Then the important characters, as I have already told you in previous slide, that it is production of H2S. So production of H2S is positive by Salmonella typhi, but this test is shown negative by Salmonella paratyphi. So this again helps you to differentiate between Salmonella typhi with that of your Salmonella paratyphi. Along with that, the common test which we generally use for identification is catalase and oxidase. The organism is strongly catalase positive, but it is oxidase negative. So these are the various biochemical tests which can be used for diagnosis of Salmonella. So these are the images of your catalase test. So you can see the effervescence or the bubbles. The positive, when the test is positive, such type of effervescence is seen. And apart from that, TSI slant can also be used to identify the organism. Now this TSI slant, it generally contains triple sugar. It is your triple sugar ion slant, right? So the sugar which is used is glucose, lactose and sucrose. Now in this particular image, the image of C, it is of Salmonella typhi. So the organism is glucose positive, lactose negative. Now you can see the half of the butt, it is your yellow in color, half is your red in color, right? So the red indicates that the sugar is not utilized. Lactose and sucrose sugar is not utilized by the organism, whereas yellow color indicates that the glucose is utilized by the organism. In case if any organism is utilizing all these three sugars, so you can see the B image. So the whole media color changes from red to yellow, right? But here we are talking about Salmonella typhi. So the black color which is formed, it is the formed because of H2S production. So such type of result is given by Salmonella on TSI slant. Moving on to the next, that is your antigenic characters. So antigen plays an important role as far as provoking immune response of host is concerned. So there are three common antigens which are present in case of your Salmonella. One is H antigen. H antigen is also called as your flagellar antigen, O antigen and VI antigen. Right? So H antigen is your flagellar antigen. It is strongly immunogenic. It has a tendency to strongly provoke the immune system of the host. Right? Second one is your O antigen. O antigen is also called as somatic antigen, but this O antigen is less immunogenic as compared to that of your flagellar antigen, and it is also called as your cell wall antigen. And the third one is your VI antigen. VI antigen, it is also called as K antigen, and it is the capsular antigen. So if at all capsule is present in case of pathogenic strains of Salmonella, so they generally possess the VI antigen or your K antigen. It is poorly immunogenic. So the strongly immunogenic antigen which is present in your Salmonella is your H antigen. Now there is an interesting variation which is shown by Salmonella is the antigenic variation. Now there are four types of antigenic variations that are shown by Salmonella. One is H2O variation, second one is your phase variation, third one is your VW variation, and fourth one is your SR variation. Now when we talk about HO variation, HO variation is the variation of the organism from motile to non-motile. So if you grow the species of Salmonella in presence of phenol, the non-motile strains of Salmonella, they tend to change to non-motile ones. So this type of variation in antigen, so there is a loss of your H antigen. So in that case, there is a change of organism from motile to non-motile ones. So such type of variation is your HO variation. Second one is your phase variation. Now this organism possesses different types of antigen in phases, right? So the phase 1 antigen are more specific as compared to that of phase 2 antigen. In case of salmonella, the salmonella species which exhibits only one phase, they are called as your monophasic. Those which in which both phases are present, they are called as biphasic or diphasic. The third variation is your VW variation. VW variation is associated with flagellum, right? So if an organism is having a flagella, VI antigen, so that antigen to when that antigen is lost, so the organism changes to more from motile to non-motile one. And the last one is your SR variation. SR variation is your smooth to rough variation. Then the next one is your virulence factors. So there are, when we talk about virulence factors, so virulence factors are the one which enhances the pathogenicity of the organism or which helps the organism to establish an infection. When we talk about virulence factors of salmonella, the very first one is the endotoxin, that is O antigen. In last slide we have discussed about O antigen, so it is your somatic antigen. So this cell wall component of salmonella can serve as an virulence factor. It can serve as an endotoxin, thus helps the organism to survive inside the host cell. The next category of protein is your invasive. So invasives are the factors which helps the organism to invade inside the host cell. Now this organism, one important character is that this organism is your motile one. Along with motility, it also possesses these invasion factors, and these invasion proteins helps the organism to invade inside the cell. Then another important character which serves as a virulence factor is the production of catalase. This organism has a tendency to survive inside the phagocytic cell. They grow there, they survive there, and from there they move on to spleen and other component gallbladder, where they can serve as a reservoir. Then ATR gene. ATR gene is your acid tolerance factor, yeah, acid tolerance response. This thing helps this organism to survive in the acidic conditions which is present in the stomach. Then VI antigen. VI antigen is your it has an antiphagocytic capacity. So we all know that if the organism is having a capsule, that capsule protects the organism to get phagocytized from the host macrophages. Then moving on to the next, that is your modes of transmission. So how this particular infection causing organism, that is your Salmonella typhi, is transmitted from the site to the host. So the very first thing is that the disease is contagious, so it can be transmitted from one person to another very easily. When we talk about modes of transmission, this particular infection is transmitted by a fecal oral route, or it is also called as feco-oral route. So what is fecal oral route? Generally a food which is contaminated by a stool of a person who is infected with Salmonella typhi, or if a food of or a beverages which is given or which is handled by a person who is having a Salmonella typhi, can serve as a agent which can transmit the Salmonella typhi. Apart from that, if your water is contaminated, water or food, if it is directly contaminated by Salmonella typhi, even that can serve as a mode of transmitter. Even the insects like flies, cockroach, they can also indirectly transmit the organism from the stool to the food sample. So if that particular food on which the flies are there, if we consume such type of food, that food has a tendency to establish an infection, or that food can transmit the organism into the body. Another route by which the organism can be transmitted is your congenital. Congenital in the sense from mother to her child. So if a mother is suffering from Salmonella typhi, so in that case the mother has a tendency to transmit the organism from herself to the newborn baby. Then moving on to the pathogenicity. Now this organism, Salmonella, is your strict parasite of human and animals. When we talk about Salmonella, so the species is your Salmonella typhi, Salmonella paratyphi A, paratyphi B. And among all these, Salmonella typhi and Salmonella paratyphi A, these are strictly confined to human beings. And Salmonella paratyphi, it is not that much pathogenic as compared to that of your Salmonella paratyphi A and Salmonella typhi. Now, Salmonella causes different types of infections in human being. So the major type of infection which is caused by Salmonella is your enteric fever, or we can say a typhoid fever. So typhoid fever is caused by Salmonella typhi, and a paratyphoid fever is caused by Salmonella paratyphi A, B and C. Along with that, Salmonella typhi is also associated with gastroenteritis, or it is commonly called as your food poisoning, and it is also associated with septicemia. So these are the different infections which are caused by your Salmonella typhi. Now, first we'll discuss the enteric fever or typhoid fever. Now, this organism is very much potent. Even if a single, near about 10 bacilli, even if 10 bacilli are consumed by human being, in that case, that many number of bacteria are able to establish the infection. And as we have already discussed, the infection is acquired by consumption of contaminated food or water. Okay, next what we are going to see is the pathogenesis of Salmonella typhi. Now when we talk about, this is an image showing a pathogenesis of typhoid fever. When the organism enters, now in the previous slide we have seen how the organism enters inside the body of a host. So the organism enters via contaminated food or water. So when the organism is entering via contaminated food or water, that is via oral route, so it directly reaches to the gut from via stomach, right? So the ATR gene, which we have already discussed, that helps the organism to survive the acidic condition, and from that the organism moves to the gut, and from there it reaches to the small intestine. On reaching to the small intestine, the bacilli attaches to the microvilli cell of your small intestine. So in this image you can see here, these are the microvilli cell where the organism first attaches to the small intestine. Now when the organism attaches there, so from there it penetrates to the lamina propria and into the submucosa. So here the organism, it penetrates inside the cell of lamina propria and the submucosa of these microvilli cell which are present in the intestine. From there, these organisms are phagocytized by the macrophages which are present in the peri patches. So here is the Peri's patches. Peri's patches is the region where there is an ample amount of your macrophages, right? So there the macrophages phagocytizes the Salmonella typhi, and we have already seen in the virulence factor that the organism is able to survive inside the macrophagic cell. So the organism survives there, grows there. After that, it multiplies, right? It not only survives in the phagocytic cell, but it also multiplies inside the cell. Followed off from there, the bacteria enters into the mesenteric lymph node. So from macrophages, when the organism grows, they are released, and from there they enters into the mesenteric lymph node, and where after a period of multiplication from mesenteric lymph node, the organism invades inside the circulatory system. So it enters into the circulatory system. When the organism enters into the blood, that particular stage is called as your bacteremia, right? So there is a presence of bacteria inside the blood. Now from there, what happens when the organism enters inside the blood? So it makes it move to the different organelles, like your liver is there. So from here, the organism can move to liver, it can move to spleen, it can move to gallbladder, and from there, when again replication cycle is completed, from there again the organism is released into the circulatory system, and that is called as your secondary bacteremia. And liver, spleen, and your gallbladder, bone marrow, all of these serves as a reservoir for Salmonella typhi. And you all know that this Salmonella typhi infection, it provokes, right? So if a person is suffering from typhoid, so after taking a whole treatment, the person gets cured. But after a period of say 15 days or 1 month, again there is an similar infection again is acquired by that particular patient, right? So that is because of this particular thing, that is because of the reservoir of Salmonella typhi into the liver, spleen and gallbladder of that particular patient. Then as we have discussed, the organism survives in the, it resides in your liver, spleen, bone marrow. When we talk about liver, liver is the best reservoir of this particular organism. Why? Because bile, which is present in the liver, it serves as a good culture media for this particular bacilli, and therefore it abundantly multiplies in the gallbladder, liver as well as in the gallbladder, and from gallbladder it is continuously discharged into the intestine, and from there it again infects your Peyer's patches, again whole cycle repeats. Now what happens as a result of all these events which is carried out by your pathogen? Now as a result of this, there is an inflammation and necrosis. These are the two characteristic finding that is associated with your Salmonella. And because of necrosis, what happens? The necrotic cell, they slogs off from the host lining, and it leads to formation of ulcers. Now there are two complications: bowel ulceration, yeah, intestinal ulceration. It leads to two complications. One is your intestinal perforation and another one is hemorrhage. So hemorrhage is associated with bleeding. So you can say it is nothing but it is an intestinal bleeding. Then mucosal infiltration is again one of the important symptom which is associated pathogenesis character which is associated with your Salmonella. In this, what happens? There is a synthesis of your prostaglandin, and synthesis of prostaglandin, it increases the concentration of cyclic AMP, and when concentration of cyclic AMP increases, it leads to accumulation of fluid into the intestine, and that eventually leads to diarrhea. So this is all about the pathogenesis. Next, we'll move on to the symptoms that are associated with typhoid. So the very first thing is that the incubation period is near about 7 to 14 days. So whole pathogenesis, what we have discussed, this event requires a period of 7 to 14 days. Now this incubation periods can range. So it can range from 3 days to 56 days. Now this incubation period and occurrence of symptoms, it totally depends upon the number of bacilli that enters inside your body. So if there is less number of bacilli enters, they enters inside your body, though it is quite obvious that they will your incubation period will be more. But if a large number of bacilli enters in your body, then the incubation period remains less. So depending upon the number of bacilli entering inside your body, it is going to determine the incubation period. But incubation period generally ranges from 7 to 14 days. Talking about symptoms, there is an onset of symptoms with a gradual headache, malaise, anorexia and constipation which is associated with diarrhea. So these are the common symptoms that are associated with typhoid. Then there is another important symptom is step ladder pyrexia. So there is an this step ladder pyrexia is a fever associated symptom, and bradycardia. So there is a swelling of heart tissue, Apart from that, there is a constant finding of palpable and smooth spleen, because spleen gets infected, so there is a softness and palpable spleen is a constant finding. Apart from that, hepatomegaly is again constant finding or constant symptom which is associated with your salmonella. So there is an enlargement of a liver. Then there is a development of rose spots. So rose spots are nothing but there is a formation of red color spots throughout the body of the host. It generally results because of the toxin that is produced by the organism. But generally rose spot are only visible in fair colored people. Generally dark color people, in that person you won't be able to recognize the formation of rose color spots. Apart from that, the other complication is your intestinal perforation, hemorrhages. So there is an bleeding which can lead to collapse of circulatory system. As a side effect, other symptoms, it also includes psychosis, deafness and meningitis. So meningitis can result if at all the organism from circulatory system, if at all it makes it move to the central nervous system. There if it reaches to meninges, so there it can lead to meningitis. So overall, if we see the symptoms of typhoid, so this is an image showing you the basic symptoms which can be identified in case of Salmonella typhi infection. So the very first step in symptom is your high fever that we have already seen. That high fever is associated with headache, weakness. These are the constant findings in case of Salmonella typhi infection. There is a dry cough, stomach pain, constipation. These are again visual symptoms that can be identified as a typhoid fever. And the last one is the formation of rash. So you can see the red color spots. This is the rose spots that is formed in the patient who is suffering from typhoid. So overall, high fever, headache, weakness, dry cough, stomach pain, constipation and rashes. These are the visual symptoms that are associated with Salmonella typhi infection. So let's move on to the summary. So what we have learned in today's lecture. So in today's lecture, we have discussed about morphology of Salmonella. So we have seen the morphological characteristics of Salmonella. Then we have seen cultural and biochemical characteristics of Salmonella. We have gone through antigenic variations. We have seen different types of antigen along with the antigenic variation that is shown by Salmonella. Then we have discussed about the mode of transmission of Salmonella. So how Salmonella transmits from one person to another. And at last we have seen pathogenesis and symptoms associated with the infection. Then there is an assignment for all of you. So you are supposed to enlist the various biochemical characteristics of Salmonella. So whatever we have discussed in today's lecture, we have gone through the various biochemical characteristics. So the biochemical characteristics plays important role as far as identification of pathogen is concerned. So you are supposed to write down or you are supposed to enlist the various biochemical characteristics. And the second is you are supposed to write a note on differential media that can be used for isolation of Salmonella. So in pre-cap, what we are going to see in our next lecture. So in next lecture, we are going to see other infections that are caused by Salmonella. So as we have seen that it is not only the typhoid which is caused by Salmonella. There are different infections which are associated with Salmonella genus that we are going to see in our next lecture. Along with that, we are going to see the laboratory diagnosis of Salmonella. Then we are going to see the treatment followed up by the control of the infection caused by Salmonella.